to see you in court someday. What I'd like to do tonight is come here wearing a different hat than the one I wore last night. Last night, I was a tree farmer. Tonight, I am the environmental scientist that NCDOT coined me as being unique environmental scientist, because there wasn't much of anybody in the United States like me. So I'm giving you some free advice. By the way, my rate back in the early 2000s, after I retired from state government, was mighty high. So you're getting free advice, which is pretty unique these days, isn't it? Okay, so here's my advice. I want to expand upon what I said last night. What I said last night was the North Carolina State Endangered Species Act having to do with wildlife creatures in North Carolina, not the plants, not insects, not a lot of other things that go bump in the night, but the basic creatures within our ecosystems in North Carolina. That act forbids the state, North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, from going after landowners if they're developing their land. Enbridge is not a landowner. Even if you eminent domain our properties, ultimately, you are not a landowner. We still own that land. So therefore, the full weight of the State Endangered Species Act applies. I'm telling you right now, as a former environmental scientist who worked for Duke Energy, Dominion, and all these various companies that you have hired to do your work, we used to do work for them once I retired from state government throughout the Southeast. So I'm giving you really good advice. You guys, from the get-go, should not have chosen the Rocky River subbasin for your line. I know that the state statute says you can do whatever you want to do with taking people's property because you are a gas company, gas transmission line company. Which, in your arrogance, you forgot to check with the Natural Heritage Program from the get-go with this project. You should have done so. As a state institution that maintains information about all the stateless species, all of their records, everything for the entire state of North Carolina, it would have cost you a pit to acquire that data for just Chatham County, because that's where your project is. So these are your species that you're going to have to address. If you can finagle things politically so that you think that you don't have to address them, that action will come back and bite you, because there are legal entities that will go after you over and over again because you're violating the State Endangered Species Act. And you know that this is the first time since I helped write that act that I have found somebody to sick that act on and actually say our name starts with A for Alderman, and you guys sent letters out, I think in alphabetic order, and who happened to get one of those first letters? My family members, not just my wife and I, but others that own land on your pipeline. You don't have to explore alternatives because the state statute gives you freedom not to. You can do what you want to do, and you've proven last night and tonight that that's exactly what you're doing. You don't have an alternative that connects in with the 4-inch line, add another line besides the 4-inch line in Gulf, and tie into the 15501 line, and run it up 421 all the way using NCDOT easement. You could do that. But why do you run it through the countryside? Is it so that you can put in a compressor station on my neighbor's land, or my other neighbor's land, or on our land if you decide that you're going to eminent domain our entire parcel so you can put in a compressor station? That's the kind of fear that I have. So again, going back to that hat that I'm trying to wear, which is the consultant hat that I had for 20 years before I left that line of business. You need to look at this list of animals. These animals, 19 species. I'm not including the significantly rare species that the Natural Heritage Program tracks on its own. These are just the state special concern threatened and endangered species. And I have a copy for everybody up at the table. So my advice again is, just like I used to give advice to Duke Energy when they had their 134-mile survey completed by us back, I think it was 2014, in the Dan River when they had the coal ash spill, I provided sound guidance to Duke Energy. I did the same thing with Dominion up in Virginia. The list goes on and on. I always told the truth. And the truth is, you guys need to explore the alternatives, because if you don't, you're going to make some really, really serious mistakes that will catch you in court, and the politics will come back and bite you, because the politicians in Raleigh are paying very close attention to eminent domain issues, these kinds of situations that citizens are being put through, and particularly farmland impacts. As I told you last night, look at the 2025 Voluntary Agricultural District Statute that was voted in and passed and signed by the governor, 2025. It basically supersedes the statute that you guys are operated by, because you have to go through our county and through our ag board before you can really proceed. It will slow you down. It's going to make you miserable, because the public can weigh in on your public needs statement, which you're going to have to provide to that ag board, and you are also going to have to analyze and submit your alternatives documents. And I know that you don't have that alternative up 421, because you, as a corporation, a North American corporation out of Canada, you're arrogant enough to come into Chatham County and say, we'll do as we please, because we have a state statute that allows us to do it. So with that, I apologize for wearing multiple hats. I don't know which hat I will wear at the next meeting. One last thing. In my spare time, I do read shareholder reports. I recommend that everybody in this room look at the 2025 Shareholders Day report from Enbridge, in which it forecasts what kinds of growth are going to occur internationally, on this continent, within regions. And let me just give you one example of why that line looks like it goes straight toward Moncure. And people ask about, when did this happen that you decided on this? Let me read you this one thing. Remember, EcoTip is going to be using a lot of electricity. So, this is from the shareholders report. A 750 megawatt data center, EcoTip, load powered by natural gas could account for roughly 25%, round off, of the entire North Carolina power demand growth opportunity identified by Enbridge, with a midpoint at 25%. So for the entire state of North Carolina, EcoTip would take 25% of all the future gas load that's coming at you. That's from your shareholders report. And I stopped reading shareholder report for a long time ago, so you need to pay attention to that.